Boys, what's good? It's Herm. We are having a game 7 of the NBA Finals. Very exciting. One of the first game 7s in a while, from what I can remember. And it's going to be a very good one. It's been a great series. Halliburton playing through the injury tonight, and the Pacers win pretty handily to force a game 7 in OKC. But we are less than 1 week away from the NBA draft going down on June 25th. So next Wednesday, we are coming up very close on it. We're getting more intel on it every day, and there's definitely been some stuff that's changed over the past week or 2 weeks that needed to be updated and talked about. So we're here to do that today. Before we get into it, think about subscribing. It's free, it's easy. If you don't like the content, you can always unsubscribe later, that's fine. But let's go ahead and get right into it. So the Mavs are picking at 1. This is still a pretty obvious selection. I have them going Cooper Flagg out of Duke. One of the best number 1 overall picks of the past decade. Not quite the level of Victor Wembanyama, but he is a special number 1 overall talent who's going to make a defensive impact right away. The offense is really good as well. Kind of an all-out player. He's going to do the dirty work that a lot of star players won't. And it's really cool to see the Mavs get him after giving up Luka Doncic, which some would say is rigged. Maybe it is. But he goes to Dallas at number 1. Pairing alongside Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving when he's healthy, making a trio there that, if healthy, would compete for a title like the Mavs were hoping, like Nico Harrison was saying would happen. Maybe he knew they were getting Cooper Flagg, but comparison-wise, kind of like a modern Kevin Garnett. A lot of people saying he is going to have a Hall of Fame trajectory. I think he's going to be a many-time All-Star. I don't know if he'll be an MVP level talent like Garnett was, but Cooper is going to be very good, and with Kyrie out, will probably be the Mavs' second best player right away. Only 18 years old, reclassified so he could go into the draft at a younger age. 22.5 points per 36 in his freshman season at Duke. Will probably play the 3 for Dallas as they plan to have Anthony Davis play the 4, but is the obvious pick here at number 1. At number 2, another pick I think is pretty consensus, Dylan Harper going to the San Antonio Spurs. Not the greatest fit as a guard who isn't an elite shooter for a team that already has De'Aaron Fox and reigning Rookie of the Year Stephon Castle, but the talent is so obvious that it's kind of undeniable. You have to take him at 2. Would be the number 1 pick in a lot of draft classes. Is very reminiscent of former number 1 overall pick Cade Cunningham. Is kind of a slow, methodical point guard that's going to break you down and is going to win a lot of matchups. 21.5 points per 36 in his freshman season at Rutgers, along with 5 rebounds, 4.5 assists. Is pretty big for a guard, 6'5", 215, and definitely has all-star upside. Kind of projects as the long-term guard alongside Wemby. As maybe Fox ages out, then they go with Dylan Harper. He is the long-term guy here for San Antonio. At number 3 is where the draft kind of opens up, and with Ace Bailey canceling his workout with them and another one going really well, it's going to be VJ Edgecombe who goes to the Sixers at 3. Very much feels like a Daryl Morey type pick of a great athlete who projects as a solid shooter at the NBA level, but is going to be a great defender and is going to attack the rim very hard. I have him compared to Victor Oladipo as a defense-first guard who can use his athleticism to be a good offensive player as well. I had someone in the last video commenting that he's the next Ja Morant. I don't know if the on-ball skills are going to be quite to that level. I picture him more as an off-ball guy like a Oladipo was for Indiana, where he was a 2-time All-Star. I really like Edgecombe here for the Sixers. Fills a spot of need at the wing spot. They have Maxey and McCain in the backcourt, as well as Quentin Grimes, who they hopefully bring back. Embiid is the starting center. I mean, who knows if that's locked in. But some 4s already in Yabusele and Justin Edwards. So slotting in VJ Edgecombe at the 3, I think makes a lot of sense for this team moving forward. And I think he's going to be an impact guy on day 1, which for a team that is going to be trying to get back up into the playoff race makes a lot of sense for Philadelphia. And then with the Hornets at 4, I have them going forward Con Knipple out of Duke. The rumors are that the Hornets love Knipple. They think he's a fantastic player. I know he's getting some consideration at 3 as well, but I have him going here at number 4. I have him comped to Gordon Hayward. I think as a kind of wing that can do a lot of different things for you, a very versatile wing who doesn't need to be the star of the show. I like him here for Charlotte. For a team that already has LaMelo, has Brandon Miller, a guy that's going to fit right in there, not complain, is going to hit a lot of shots for you. Con Knueppel coming here to the Hornets at 4, was the co-star to Cooper Flagg at Duke last season and had no problem being the second guy there. I think he goes to Charlotte and is just a winning player, and I like how he fits into their starting lineup. Who knows if they keep Bridges long term, but they need a guy who can fit between the three of Ball, Miller, and Bridges, and Knueppel can do that. At number 5, I have the Utah Jazz going with Trey Johnson out of Texas, a score-first guard. Put up over 20 points per 36 in his freshman year at Texas and was just electric. This dude is a bucket getter. He's going to score a lot. I think he probably averages 15 points per game as a rookie. I've seen a lot of comparisons to Cam Thomas, another SEC bucket getter who excelled as a freshman, and I don't think it's far off. He makes tough shots. I don't think the decision making is horrible though. I've seen a lot of Ace Bailey complaints is that the decision making scares people off. I don't think it's quite to that level with Trey Johnson, but the Jazz need scoring. I mean, there's just not a whole lot there right now. I think they really like Collier and Keontae George in the backcourt. I think hopefully one of those pans out as the longtime point guard. They already have Lauri Markkanen, but it seems like they're probably going to move on from him. Rumors of Kessler and John Collins being available as well. So not a ton locked in right now in Utah. Why not take a stab on upside? A scoring machine who has all-star potential. Could definitely do a little more playmaking, but when you have a guy like Collier, who is a fantastic playmaker as a rookie, it's not as big of an issue. At number 6, we have the fall stopping here, as I have the Wizards taking Ace Bailey out of Rutgers. There would be plenty of people who say he's a top 3 talent in the draft. I do prefer Edgecombe a little bit because I think he has a much higher floor than someone like Ace Bailey, who I've seen people compare to Cam Reddish on the low end, which should probably scare some people. The shot selection, the comments he's made in the draft process, the refusal to work out for any teams is very odd. It's been well reported he doesn't want to go to Philadelphia or Utah, but here at number 6, the Wizards say, hey, he's just too talented, we can't let him slip anymore. 19 points per 36 as a freshman at Rutgers, solid rebounder as well at 7.7. Can shoot over the top of guys. I don't really know what's locked in Washington right now. I really like Alex Sarr, Bilal Coulibaly, Bub Carrington was good as a rookie. Jordan Poole was quietly really good last year. I've heard some trade rumors. I don't know if they're legitimate or not, but Ace Bailey here would be probably their best offensive weapon outside of maybe Jordan Poole. But Ace Bailey would provide a lot of offense right away and gives them a guy who can potentially grow into a really top-level talent. And maybe they think it's a steal here at number 6. A lot of people wouldn't disagree. He is very talented. The shot selection is a little questionable for sure, but super athletic as well. You're going to see him dunk on some guys. You're going to see him hit contested shots, tough shots. And for a team that doesn't have a lot going super well for them right now, why not take a chance at upside here with Ace Bailey? Is going to put fans in the seats as well. So I think this is kind of the floor. I just can't see him slipping past number 6. At number 7, I have the Pelicans going guard Jeremiah Fears out of Oklahoma. I've seen some people like No Ceilings, I believe, has him like in the mid-teens. But to me, I really like Jeremiah Fears. I think he's too talented not to go this high. I think at 7, with what the Pelicans point guard situation has been for years now, you have to pull the trigger here and take Fears. DeJounte Murray coming off a tough injury, no guarantee on what that is. They've been trying to run CJ McCollum at point guard. I just don't love that. But a strong, aggressive downhill scorer in Jeremiah Fears, who nobody can seem to stay in front of. Yeah, I like that. They have Zion Williamson, who, again, is a very athletic guy who is not a great shooter. Jeremiah Fears, not a great shooter. That would be the biggest weakness in his game right now. But the scoring is going to be there right away. They have great defenders as well. So getting a 6'3" point guard who is mostly offensive oriented, he's going to poke some steals out. But I would say overall in the half court, I don't think Fears is a fantastic defender. But when you have Alvarado, you have Herb Jones, you have Trey Murphy, that's not something I'm concerned about. The spacing with Murphy and Jordan Hawkins, I think, also helps his fit here in New Orleans. and another guy with all-star upside. It's a very good draft towards the top here, and I really like taking fears. Jaden Ivey is kind of a low-end comparison. I've seen some even go for like Westbrook Rose type area. Very athletic downhill scorer, and for the Pelicans here, I think this is good value at number 7. At number 8, I have the Brooklyn Nets going center/forward Derek Queen out of Maryland. There are people mocking him a little higher. I've seen him go as high as 6 to Washington. He's out of the DC area. It would be a hometown pick. Does make some sense. I just don't think they'd take him over Ace Bailey, but I've also seen some people mock him in the teens. He's a kind of a controversial player as someone who's not very fast, isn't super athletic, but just is a bucket getter and is a very good offensive hub. I think Domantas Sabonis is a real comparison for him. The assists aren't quite to that level, but even though he's a bit undersized at 6'9", he's going to rebound for you, he's going to score, and he's going to block some shots. And with the upside of that type of group of offensive-minded centers like Sabonis, Şengün, Jokic on the real high end, I think if you're Brooklyn, who really kind of just has Cam Thomas and not a whole else right now, why not? I mean, this feels like they need a point guard, probably a little more than they need an offensive center. But I think a talent like this for a team that's a little devoid of upside for the future, I mean, what else do they have? They have Jalen Wilson, and that's about it. Claxton's probably going to get traded. I think Cam Johnson is likely going to get traded this offseason as well. So you're kind of starting from the bottom here with Brooklyn, and I like Derek Queen as kind of a building block for your franchise going forward. At number 9, I have the Raptors going Kaman Maluach out of Duke. A kind of big switch from Derek Queen because Maluach is defense first wholeheartedly. A Derek Lively type who's going to protect the rim and catch lobs. And with Jakob Poeltl kind of aging out, I've seen them offering him up in trades. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets traded this offseason, but even if he doesn't, having a guy who can grow behind him and be your center of the future, I really like that for Toronto. They do need some playmaking as well. The pick and roll stuff for them last year was just not good. So I think Jakušonis is a guy you'd consider here at number 9, but if Maluach is still on the board, I think it's just someone you have to take. Is pretty new to playing basketball, like a lot of the guys that come out of the Africa program, whether it's Joel Embiid or some of the other guys in there that just start playing basketball late, but are so physically gifted and talented that they're going to make a good impact, and Maluach is one of those guys. Is very raw as a prospect, not super defined in what his offensive game is going to be. It is mostly lobs at this point. The post-up game needs a little bit of work, but 15 points per 36, 11 rebounds, and 2.2 blocks. He looked like a menace during his rookie season at Duke. Was kind of unreliable, I would say, a little bit, but the potential there is just so high. I think with what Toronto is looking at right now, I think it's a very logical pick for them. At number 10, I have the Houston Rockets taking guard Kasparas Jakušonis out of Illinois. This would be a pick where I think people might say it's not the best fit on the board. Carter Bryant, a kind of defense first 3-and-D type guy, makes a lot of sense for a team that's trying to win now in Houston, as well as Noah Osengwe, I think is the same kind of deal. But Jakušonis, I think, is potentially a top 6 or 7 talent in this draft class. So if he's available here at number 10, I just think Houston does it. They have Van Fleet with a team option for next season, which I think they'll probably pick up. Depends on what they do this offseason. Kevin Durant, heavily rumored to them. We'll see if that ends up happening. But either way, I think getting a little more playmaking on this team, someone who can be an exciting pick and roll partner with Alperen Şengün, I like that. Amen Thompson kind of projects as their point guard after Van Fleet kind of ages out of that role. But why not get more playmaking? Reed Shepherd is a good playmaker as well, but hasn't done a ton at the NBA level yet, despite really balling out in the G League. But I like the idea of a big playmaker, would make kind of a scary pick and roll for defenses. I've seen a lot of confidence with this dude too. I remember watching him at Illinois. He's taking step back threes from the logo. Is not scared, and I think on a team that's good right now, that's a really valuable asset. At number 11, I have the Portland Trailblazers going with Carter Bryant out of Arizona. For them, I think it's probably a wing. You have kind of a crowded backcourt right now. Anthony Simons, Scoot Henderson, and Shaedon Sharpe. You also have a lot of bigs with DeAndre Ayton, Donovan Clingan, Robert Williams. So it seems most likely it's a wing. And again, this is kind of between Carter Bryant and Noah Osengwe, and I think Carter Bryant is a little more polished get some Toumani Camara comparisons, which is awesome. Why not have more defense on that team after an all-defense selection for Camara? And this is a guy who can defend and hit the three ball. Did not put up a ton of production in his 1 year at Arizona. Was a 6 point and 4 rebound guy, I believe, in like the actual minutes played. But per 36, it looks a little better. 12 points, 8 rebounds as a wing, pretty solid, and nearly 2 blocks as well. Would make a defensive impact right away. And for a team that's trying to get better, trying to make that leap, this is the type of guy that makes you better. You have talented players right now in Deni Avdija, in Camara, and Klingon, who I really like. So why not try to get better? And getting a win now guy in Carter Bryant, who has the potential to be even better, I think that's a good pick for them. At number 12, I have the Chicago Bulls going with Thomas Sorber out of Georgetown. They've had the offense first center in Nikola Vucevic for years now. I think Bulls fans are kind of tired of it. They'd like a little more rim protection. They'd like a little more physical big man. And why not take Thomas Sorber to do that for you? 6'9" isn't huge in terms of height, but 260 pounds, big wingspan, isn't afraid of anybody, and is really good kind of with like attacking downhill, as well as his defense on pick and rolls is very impressive. He's going to be a good defensive player for you right away, and a good lob partner for Josh Giddey and the guys they have there. So they have guards in Giddey and Kobe White, Matas Buzelis on the wing. Go in on a big man right now and kind of add to what the foundation is that you've already been building. And I think Sorber is the best one on the board here at number 12. At number 13, I have another big man, this one going to the Atlanta Hawks. Power forward / center, is a little undersized, but can play that. Colin Murray Boyles out of South Carolina. He's just a smart basketball player, is in the right place at the right time very often, and is a good defensive one. Is undersized for sure at 6'7", but the hustle and work ethic makes up for that. Pretty reminiscent of Draymond Green, who I believe is also 6'7", and has played some center for the Warriors over the years. I don't think he's quite the playmaker that Draymond is, which is why I'd call him a light version of that. But getting a guy like that who can be the kind of the glue on what your team is, I think that's good for them, especially with the kind of need for a big man that they've had for a while. Capella just isn't cutting it anymore. Okongwu hasn't been quite the big that they thought he would be. So take that shot here on Murray Boyles, even though he's undersized. You have a really athletic big power forward in Jalen Johnson, a big small forward in Zachary Risache, who can kind of make up for the undersizing of Murray Boyles, who I think is very talented as a player. The biggest concern, I think, obviously is the size, but the production speaks for itself. 20 points per 36, 10 rebounds. Was on a South Carolina team that wasn't all that good, but he was the star, and he looked really good all season long. And I think he deserves a lottery pick. At number 14, I have the San Antonio Spurs going Noah Essengwe out of France. Getting a French guy to be teammates with Victor Wembanyama. Very similar to Bilal Coulibaly in that he's athletic, he's defense first. 19 points per 36 points to him being a good offensive player. I think the offense is going to be a little raw. I don't think he's going to come in and be, a 15 plus point per game scorer. He's probably a guy who's going to come in and maybe average 8 for you. But the defense is going to be there. Getting a wing for them, I think, is solid. Keldon Johnson and Jeremy Sohan, I think, have both been at least a little underwhelming. So why not do it here and take another shot at that, especially a guy who Wembanyama is probably going to enjoy having on his squad. And a lot of people have pegged as a top 10 pick, so it's good value here for the Spurs at 14. At number 15, I have the Thunder taking Nick Clifford out of Colorado State, an older prospect at 23, but for a team that is potentially coming off of a championship, that's not something that really matters. Just take the guy that's talented and can contribute now, especially with Lou Dort probably being the next guy out the door for them. Get a guy who can be a replacement in that area. A Josh Hart-esque wing who is going to get a ton of rebounds at 6'5", nearly 10 rebounds per 36, 19 points, 4.5 assists, 1.2 steals. Is just one of those guys that's going to fill up the box score, do a little bit of everything for you. Is not going to be the level of defender that Lou Dort was, but is going to be a kind of acceptable replacement in that role. And for OKC, I don't think they have any problem taking an older player that other teams might be scared off of. At number 16, I have the Grizzlies going guard Cedric Coward out of Washington State. This pick is coming to them from the Desmond Bane trade. This was originally Orlando's pick. It is now going to Memphis. And go ahead and take your Bane replacement. I really like Cedric Coward. The stats are really good. 19 points per 36, nearly 8 rebounds at 6'5", 4 assists, nearly 2 blocks, and shot 40% from 3 last year. So they were, I believe, last in like pull-up threes last season, catch and shoot threes, I believe, and at least in attempts. So why not get another guy who can shoot, especially after you got rid of your best shooter? So Coward feels like a good replacement for Desmond Bane, and actually a very similar archetype. But at 6'5" with a big wingspan, kind of projects in a Jeremy Grant type role. I think can be better sooner rather than later. And for a team that just got rid of Desmond Bane and still wants to be competitive around Jaren Jackson Jr., I think that type of player is one that makes a lot of sense. At number 17, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves going Agor Demon, out of BYU, who was potentially like early in the season with how he's performing at BYU, viewed as a top 5 pick. As the season went along, a little bit of shooting concerns that dropped his stock a little bit. But what do the Timberwolves need right now? They need a point guard. Mike Conley is old, point blank. He's not going to be there for much longer. Rob Dillingham, I don't think is really a lead point guard, is probably more of a off-the-bench scoring type and a good off-ball creator who can do a little on-ball when asked to, but I don't think he's your lead guard. I think Demon can be that. 7.1 assists per 36 at 6'8" is super impressive. You can run a really big lineup out there with Demon. Anthony Edwards is your smallest player, and then McDaniels, Randall, and Gobert. Or you can throw Naz Reid in there. Maybe Kevin Durant gets there, who they've been rumored to be interested in. But I think Demon just kind of boosts the big size aspect that Minnesota already has and gets the playmaking that they desperately need. At number 18, I have the Wizards going with guard Jace Richardson out of Michigan State. They need a point guard badly. Bob Carrington projects as a 2, I think, long term. So they need their point guard of the future. I had them go a wing with Ace Bailey with their first pick. So now I have them going guard, and the best one on the board in Jace Richardson. Is a little undersized for sure at 6'1", and some people might even say that's generous. But just got so much better as the season went along at Michigan State, and was a huge reason they had that deep playoff run. And I believe they won the Big Ten tournament, and he was great for them in that too. 17 points per 36, 2.7 assists, but the passing got better as the year went along as well. Good scorer, good playmaker, and is going to be a fighter on defense despite being undersized. I really like his fit in Washington. At number 19, I have the Brooklyn Nets going Rasheer Fleming out of St. Joe's. Is one of the more underrated prospects of this draft class, I'd say. One of the players I really like as well. One of the guys I'd call my guys in this draft class. And honestly, I'd have him pegged as a lottery level talent. But just based off of fit and some of the guys before, he doesn't go earlier. But with the Nets here at 19, who, like I said, don't have a whole lot going on for them right now. They need the best available. So I have them going Fleming. I think that JaMychal Green is a little kind of undervaluing what he can be, although people forget JaMychal Green was good. That dude was a good player. But is just a type of guy who's going to be a winning player for you. Does he look as good early on as he looks later when maybe the Nets are better? Maybe not. But if you're moving off Cam Johnson, getting a guy like Fleming who can really space the floor, can really play some defense, is a very smooth and seamless replacement there. And at 21, will probably be a little better as a rookie than some of the other guys in this class. 17 points per 36, nearly 10 rebounds, nearly 2 blocks as well. Is very talented, is a mobile, modern 4 who just does a lot of different things and is a very valuable archetype in today's NBA. At number 20, I have the Heat going guard Nolan Traore out of France. Was once viewed as a top 3 player in this draft class, but some concerns about his shooting as well dropped him throughout the process. But that doesn't concern me as much when you have the level of talent that this guy has. 6'3", 185 pounds, 19 points per 36, over 7 assists as well, and 3 rebounds as well. This is against good competition that he's playing overseas, And with the Miami Heat having Terry Rozier currently as the point guard, they need a point guard badly, and this is a really good upside swing at number 20 for a guy who I don't know if he has all-star talent, but is going to be real good. Lonzo Ball coming out of UCLA, I think, was very similar. I think Lonzo's three-point shooting was a little better, which is why there were less concerns about him as a prospect. If this guy played in college, I think he would have went a bit higher because he's just physically more talented than a lot of players, is very smooth at getting to the rim, and is someone that I think the Miami Heat could really use. At number 21, I have the Jazz going Danny Wolf, center out of Michigan. Is another guy who could easily go in the teens or maybe even the lottery. 7-footer who can kind of be the lead playmaker, can handle the ball really well, and is just very unique in the way he plays. Isn't a fantastic shooter, which is what you kind of expect with a guy that's this big and this comfortable with the ball, but shooting isn't really his thing. He's not an awful shooter by any means, but that's not why you're getting him. You're getting him for the versatility of playmaking with a guy who can lead a pick and roll as a 7-footer. They already have Lauri Markkanen, a really talented big guy. They took a guard with their first pick, Trey Johnson. So I like Danny Wolf, and I really like the value here at 21. Nearly 16 points per 36, 11.5 rebounds, and over 4 assists for a guy who played center. You take that every day, and is just unique, and a guy I'd really like to see along the players that are currently on the roster. At number 22, I have the Hawks going Ben Seraph out of Israel. Is kind of a Ramon Sessions type who can be a kind of pass-first player who can attack downhill. Another guy who I wouldn't say is a great shooter, but is going to provide defense for you right away and some defensive versatility as a 6'5 guard. But the Hawks really do need some playmaking off the bench. They have Trey and they have Dyson Daniels, but Kobe Buffkin hasn't really worked out as well as you had hoped. They kind of just need a backup guard in the rotation, and I think Seraph at this point in the draft is the best guard available. At number 23, I have the Pacers going with Asa Newell out of Georgia. I don't think they're going to lose Miles Turner in free agency, even though that is a possibility, especially if they win the title. I don't think Miles Turner is going to leave. But they do need a backup big regardless. Thomas Bryant has had some big moments in the playoffs, but is not someone you probably want reliably as your backup big. So why not take a really good athlete? Those type of guys tend to flourish alongside Tyrese Halliburton. We've seen how well Obi Toppin has done alongside him, as well as Benedict Mathurin. Being a good athlete alongside Hallie is going to make you look good. 19 points per 36, 8.5 rebounds. I think Newell could go a little higher, but feels like a good fit here at 23 for Indiana. At number 24, I have the Thunder going forward/center, Bogoljub Markovic out of Serbia. Serbia has kind of put out some real good talent, namely Nikola Jokic. The Dragic's, I believe, are from there as well. And Nikola Topic, who was in last year's draft, the Thunder already have. So why not get another Serbian guy in here, mix it up. Nikola Jovic has also been a pretty solid guy for Miami out of Serbia, but a big, kind of versatile big man as well. Not quite to the level of Danny Wolf, but can be a modern 4 for you at 6'11". Can space the floor well, gotten comparisons to Davis Bertans, who was a kind of lights out big man shooter, one of the first to really do it as a 4. And is still pretty young at 20 years old. If you're the Thunder right now, you're so deep, you have so many assets, you're kind of taking shots on upside like they did with Topic last year. I think Markovic is another kind of same vibe for a team that can kind of do whatever they want. At number 25, I have the Magic going with Walter Clayton Jr. out of Florida. I've mocked this in all of my mocks. I love the pick. Keep him hometown. Keep him in the Florida area. And I think they need point guard play. Jalen Suggs is really solid for them, is a good defensive player first, but I just don't think he's really a lead guard, and they need backup guard play anyway. Anthony Black has been solid, but they need a little more than that. So I like Walter Clayton to them a lot. I think their biggest need right now is guard play. They could use an upgrade at center over Wendell Carter Jr., but I definitely don't think you're getting that at this point in the draft. Clayton really went off for Florida in the tournament. That's why they won the title. 20.2 points per 36, 4 rebounds, nearly 5 assists. Is a bucket getter. I've seen the high-end comparison of Jamal Murray, which would be probably the absolute best-case scenario. Keontae George is more of a middle ground, and then Carson Edwards would be the scary outcome as a guy who really went off in March as an undersized guard. but I don't think that's going to happen with Walter Clayton Jr. I think he's going to be a really good six-man. And for a team like Orlando, who definitely has a ton of intel on him, I think it's a solid pick. At number 26, I have the Brooklyn Nets taking Liam McNeely out of UConn. A lot of mocks have him in the teens. Kind of underperformed, not shooting all that well in his lone season at UConn. Coming out of high school was viewed as a shooter first, and I think a lot of people still believe he's going to be a good shooter. So with the Nets here, I think you're taking best player available. Kind of gotten some Corey Kispert comps as a guy who can space the floor as a wing, play a little defense. Decent size too at 6'7", 215, and this is definitely best player available strategy for Brooklyn here at 26. At 27, I have them doing the same thing. I have them taking Will Riley, a forward out of Illinois, who I've often seen early 20s, maybe even late teens. Just really improved in what was his second season at Illinois. Just 19 years old, 6'8", 185 pounds, nearly 18 points per 36, 6 rebounds and 3 assists. Is a very good do-it-all wing, 3-and-D type player who can make a solid impact on a winning team. Again, Brooklyn isn't a winning team right now, but why not set yourself up for the future with guys who can be solid now and even better when your team is in a winning setting. At number 28, I have the Celtics going with Maxime Reynaud, the center out of Stanford. Another guy who I would say is one of my guys in this draft class. I think you could easily say he should go much higher than this, but it is pretty consistent with where he's being mocked right now. The production is very good. 21.7 points per 36, over 11 rebounds, and a block and a half per game. In the Celtics, they do need bigs. That's just one of the points of need for this Boston team right now. I think you could also say they need some guard play with Drew Holiday probably going out this summer. But with Al Horford getting older and Kristaps Porzingis potentially being traded as well, it leaves the big spot pretty light. So Reynaud is a guy who can be a kind of early contributor at 22 years old. Just got better throughout his time in college, taking a step every year and really excelled in his last season at Stanford. And I think definitely it's worth a shot here. 7'2" as well is just a really good prospect physically, as well as production-wise. And I think you can make a good case he should go a lot higher than this. At number 29, I have the Phoenix Suns going with Joan Berringer out of France. Another player who's kind of all over the place. I've seen him mocked in the lottery as well as the second round, but a lot of people are also saying that he's the best rim protector in this draft class, and I don't think they're necessarily wrong, even with how good Maluach is. 2.7 blocks per 36, isn't a great scorer right now, but 9 rebounds isn't shabby either. And with a team led with Nick Richards and Mason Plumlee at center, this is definitely a position of need for Phoenix. I've seen some comps to Daniel Gafford, and I don't think it's a bad comparison either. Is a guy who can get a lot of rebounds for you, score efficiently, and block shots. And he's real young too at 18, so there's definitely a lot of potential he can grow and get better. And with the last pick in the first round, I have the Clippers going with Drake Powell, a shooting guard / small forward out of North Carolina. Is going to hit shots for you, is going to play defense, definitely a 3-and-D type, a winning team type player. And for the Clippers, who already have Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Powell, Zubats, they just kind of need some guys to fit in alongside that. And I think Drake Powell is going to do that for them. And I think he's a first-round talent, so he seems like the pretty clear selection to me here at number 30. But that is going to be the entire first round of this mock draft. Let me know your thoughts. If you like the mock, what picks you agreed with, what picks you didn't agree with, how excited you are for this draft coming up next Wednesday. And just drop some predictions below. If you like the video, throw a like on it. Think about subscribing. It really helps the channel. But I hope you boys enjoyed. I hope you have a great rest of your night. Peace.